Hey everybody, it's Andy again from Andrew Jackson's Hermitage. I am sitting here virtually with Howard Kittell, our president and CEO. Just wanted to pick his brain about a few things today as we continue to bring you some of the stories of the staff at the Hermitage during this time of not really being able to be on site and working together. So Howard, thank you for taking some time this morning to chat with me.
Well, Andy, thank you for giving me the opportunity, and thank you all for listening and watching us today.
Yeah. All right. So Howard, how long have you worked for the Andrew Jackson Foundation?
Almost 11 and a half years. So I've worked here longer than any other place in my career.
Tell me a little bit about your background, your history, and what brought you to the Hermitage.
Kind of what got me here?
Yes.
Okay. Well, as a preteen, I developed a keen interest in architecture, especially historic architecture, and then in presidential history. While I was in graduate school, I had an opportunity to work at Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home. And that really sparked my interest in sometime working at a presidential home. And I had a number of jobs in between. And then almost 12 years ago, I was approached by the board here at the Hermitage and ultimately invited to take this job. So it's been an adventure.
Been an adventure, and we're in the midst of another adventure right now.
That's right, exactly. Another adventure. One never knows.
Well, I know every day your job is different, but do you have a favorite part of what you do?
I do, and it has little to do with sort of my day-to-day sitting at my desk. One of the things that really, as you say, gets you up in the morning is being able to go out, usually in the afternoon at some point, and talk to our visitors, talk to the people who are here or who have almost completed their tours, and just find out what inspired them by a visit here. And I love when I can talk to children and hear them being excited about what the things are that they have seen here. But people are guests of all ages, and just their reactions, because I feel like that's the core of our job, is to bring people in contact with American history. In this case, the history of the 7th U.S. President, Andrew Jackson, and his family, and the lives of the enslaved people who were here as well. So it's a very rich story, and I love to see how people react to that.
So out of all the historical sites that are available to us, why did you choose the Hermitage to come and join the team?
Well, because it was a presidential site. I don't think I would have changed jobs and moved and all of that to go to work at a historic house somewhere, or at a museum, other kinds of museums. I really, really do love presidential history. And Jackson, in all honesty, when I first took the job, I didn't have a great depth of knowledge of him. I knew the big picture. I knew a great deal about the Hermitage because it was one of the first presidential homes that was preserved. So I was excited about that. But then the more I've learned about Andrew Jackson, the more, and he's both a consequential president and a complicated man. The more I've learned about him, the more I've learned about America at that time. And I think it's that early history of our nation when there weren't a lot of rules yet. And as a nation, we were still making it up. This idea of a self-governing democracy was new, and people were just figuring it out. And I love to read those stories of how America was figuring itself out, sort of like we do when we're teenagers.
Mm-hmm. Is there something about Andrew Jackson that you wish everybody knew?
Yes, there is. And again, I say, as I learn more about him, but this truly self-made man who started with virtually nothing and ended up having been the president of the United States and living in arguably the grandest mansion in Tennessee by the time of his death. So I think that there's a great lesson to be learned by this man and in his period of time. And we have to look at him within the context of what is today known as the Jacksonian era. In fact, he's the only American president who has a period of time named after him, at least so far. And that America was growing and changing, and this was the guy who led it all. And it's one of the people who speak in our introductory film, Annette Gordon-Reed, says he was the right man in the right place. So I think there's challenges to him and what he did, but also we have to look at the reasoning and what were all the political influences. And I think he's just a fascinating guy to study. And as John Meacham says, if you want to understand American democracy, you have to begin with Jackson.
Very nice. We have thousands of artifacts in our collection. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, I do. I was hoping you'd ask me that question. In the front parlor of the mansion, there's a marble top table, and on it is this little brown thing that looks, from a distance, people think it's a twig, they think it's a cigar. It's actually a candle. And the candle dates to 1781 and the Battle of Yorktown. It was the last battle fought in the Revolutionary War, although at the time people didn't know it was going to be the last battle. And against all expectations, George Washington and the Continental Army defeated Lord Cornwallis and the British Army at Yorktown. And when the battle was over, Washington took some of his officers into Cornwallis's headquarters to look for maps and to look for documents to see what the British might be planning as a next maneuver or a next strategy. And in his headquarters was a box of candles. So Washington gave a candle to each of his officers and said, keep this, and as a memento of what we did today, this amazing victory that we had. And so a generation later, the son of one of those officers gave his father's candle to Andrew Jackson because of Jackson and his ragtag army having defeated the British in the Battle of New Orleans in 1815. And the fact that this candle was held in the hand of these two significant American presidents, and I still get goosebumps when I talk about it, when I see it. It's one of my favorite stories to recount.
Now, the mansion is just one piece of what people can see when they visit us on site. Do you have another building, or maybe it's somewhere on our site that you wish everybody would pay attention to or see when they visit us?
Oh, there are many, many. Jackson's tomb is one that I'm always touched by, and Alfred's Cabin. And Alfred's Cabin is, maybe 100 feet or so behind the mansion. It's a log building constructed in the early 1840s. And Alfred was born at the Hermitage as an enslaved person and lived here his entire life. He became free after emancipation and died here in 1901. And I'm very touched by the fortitude of this man and his self-determination. So those are three that I particularly like, but I think I'm coming back to the Hermitage today after having been away for a few days because we're isolating. I was again struck by just the beauty of the site, and seeing it online is one thing. And the excellent videos you've been producing the last week or so, but there's something so wonderful about walking the grounds and seeing the sunlight at last, and seeing how the shadows fall and the smells of right now, the flowering trees that are coming out and the pine trees and feeling the wind on your face and just the sounds here. It really is a place to experience as well as to see with all of your senses.
I am amazed every time I'm there that it's a little over 1,100 acres, and we're right in the backyard of Nashville, downtown Nashville. And so you don't feel like you're that close to the city. And I think when I explain to people how big the site is, I think that's a fact that I wish more people knew. We are that big.
That's right. And we're right here in the city, so it's like this oasis. And coming out here early in the morning when there's mist coming up off the ground or fog in the air, and the sunlight coming through that fog on the grounds. It's just an amazing place. It's
And the
not,
deer that greet you when you drive up.
yes, yes, exactly. And the horses are there, and you hear the cows way in the background, and yeah, it's you're on this plantation.
Well, we don't know right now an exact reopening date. We hope it's very soon. What are you most looking forward to about us reopening?
Oh, seeing from my office window, I can see people up around the mansion, and especially to hear children. And that's, we don't know if schools will even open again this school year, but watching children here with their teachers and with their parents or chaperones, and just watching them play on the property and suddenly being released into this big open space and hearing their voices. And I think about all of those children that we're touching virtually, if you will, but inspiring them to come to a historic place and just see something so much bigger and older than themselves. And I think about what happened to me when my first visit to a historic site and a presidential home when I was a child. And I think about what that did for me, and I hope we can do that for others as well.
Well, is there anything else you want to share with our viewers online today?
Well, please pay attention to our website and to our postings for when we reopen, because we will welcome you with open arms, and we've got all this land and space if you want to continue social distancing. But it's just a wonderful place to visit, and a truly unique place in the dictionary definition of the word unique. So please come and visit us.
We like to say that it is something you must see if you are in Nashville, that your trip to Nashville is not complete until you see the home of the 7th president. So whether you are a local Nashvilleian or visiting us, we do hope that we are able to welcome you with open arms very soon. Thank you, Howard, for taking time to chat today.
Andy, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at 7th President, and visit us online at thehermitage.com. We'll see you guys later.
Goodbye.